Welcome to 5 True Singles. This story is from James Urbaniak and was recorded August 31st, 2013 at Dragon Con in Atlanta. The theme was, There Goes My Hero. Pop culture pros tell real-life stories of good and evil.
Hi, everybody. This takes place when I was a young man in the early 80s. I was probably around 18 or 19. At the time, I was going to a community college, and I had befriended a great guy named Anthony. Anthony was a bit of an eccentric kid. We were both from New Jersey. He was obsessed with, like, the 1920s, 1930s, 40s, early 20th century style and movies. I used to go to his house and watch old movies, old black and white films. I actually learned a lot about old movies just from hanging out with this guy, Anthony. And he also liked to dress like it was the 1930s, from what he could find in New Jersey in the early 80s. I don't know if there are any older people here tonight, but in the early 80s, the style among young men was still sort of 70s. It was like long hair and kind of post-hippie, you know. Anthony had very short hair. He had vintage eyeglasses that he'd found somewhere that were like little wire rim glasses. He would wear ties and vests and dress pants and dress shoes. It was like a Jersey Shore kid in the early 80s. And most notably, he had a thing I didn't even know had existed. He had sock garters. He had these little garters that went on his lower leg that held up his socks because in the 20s, socks didn't have elastic yet. Now, was he wearing elastic socks with the garters? By the way, this is pre-internet. There was no eBay. Where did he get sock garters? He willed them. He did it. And he would show them off. I remember he also carried like an actual fountain pen, you know, with like you had to put ink into. So this is this kid. He's a great guy. And I was just a younger, spacier version than what I am now. Well, younger anyway. And so one day we were going to New York. We used to go into New York a lot because we'd lived in New Jersey just to hang out. And I don't remember what we were doing, but it was the weekend, was the day, and we were taking the bus in from New Jersey. And I'm sitting there with Anthony, and a guy, a dude, probably a few years older than us, maybe 21, 22. We're like 18, 19. He's sitting across from us. He's the aisle seat. And at one point, he turns to us, and he goes, we're on the bus, it's like an hour bus ride. It's maybe 15, 20 minutes in, and he goes, so what are you guys doing in the big city? Now, it's obviously a taunt. And I don't even remember I'm like, I don't know, we're just gonna hang out. And then I don't remember what he said, but I know the next thing was like some kind of gay joke. And I was like, And then, I remember this very well, verbatim, he said to Anthony, who had very short hair, can you fly away with those ears? Which is actually a kind of whimsical taunt. Right. I mean, it's essentially a Dumbo reference. He's a bully. I have always remembered that one. And this just goes on. We're adults now. We're out of high school. This guy's older than us, and he's bullying us. But I mean, you know, frankly, there's Anthony, and there's me, who, now I'm just kind of a skinny dude. Back then I was like super scary thin. So this guy is just like, this is a bullying opportunity right here. I used to do this in high school. These guys are captive in this bus. I'm gonna fucking bully them for an hour to make me feel better about myself. So he just keeps doing stuff, and we're just kind of trying to ignore it. And then eventually, maybe we're only like halfway through the journey, Anthony suddenly goes, ow. And he looks and he says, he threw an ash at me. This is the early 80s, you could smoke on buses. He had flung like the end of his cigarette at us, and it actually hit Anthony in the neck with the lit ash. So now it's actually becoming physically violent in its way. It's giving Anthony a minor neck burn. Anthony leans over to me and whispers, I've got a scheme. My hand to God. And then Anthony does this. He stands in his seat, and I'm going to put this down. I'm going to project, so you'll hear this. And there's also a bit of physical business I'm going to do, and this is what he did. Will you please stop? Will you stop? Will you just leave us alone? Right into the aisle. A stage feint. I'm shocked and scared because to my eye, that was the fakest thing ever. There's no way this guy's gonna think Anthony just fainted. And I look at the guy and he is ashen. The guy is just like gaping. And then I remember hearing a woman in the back of the bus say, "He's out cold." And I'm like, holy shit, they are buying this. And I pick up Anthony and I put him back on his seat and he starts shivering. And the guy goes, I'm sorry. And I say, no, it's okay. He's slightly retarded. And for the rest of the journey, I keep saying things to Anthony, trying to make him laugh, knowing that if I do, we'll be in deep shit, but I can't help it. And Anthony's just kind of huddled, and we had an acting teacher at this community college who was a guy that we used to kind of make fun of. His name was Larry. He was sort of like Corky Sinclair waiting for Guffman. He was that guy. That's a real kind of guy. My wife, Bonnie. And so we love this guy, so his name was Larry, so to try to make Anthony laugh, I went, it's okay, we'll be in the city soon to see Uncle Larry. Trying to make in-jokes with him. So finally, well, it works. We ride for the next 30 seconds in peace, although Anthony is still in character. We finally get off the bus and we stop, and again, the guy goes up to us and apologizes. He's like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And we go off, and then we stop at Port Authority, the bus terminal, and for like the next 2 blocks, we just keep making sure that guy isn't near us before we can both burst out laughing on the sidewalk. And that's what happened. So I don't know what happened to the villain in that story. I like to think that actually had an effect on him. And maybe he hung up his bullying boots. What do bullies hang up? Yeah. He smoked his last bullying cigarette. I turned out fine. I'm at Dragon Con, everything worked out. And Anthony Labate, I was in touch with sort of through the rest of the 80s, then we kind of lost touch, and I haven't seen or communicated with him for years, but I found out a couple years ago that for years he's been working at Eastman House in Rochester, New York, which of course is dedicated to film preservation. So there's no question Anthony Labate is a man at peace. And that makes me happy. And that's the story.
The story that you just heard was absolutely true.